internet. I'm back again. I was gone for a couple of weeks. Not that anyone noticed because no one really cares or watches my videos. I have been working on a video. It's just not the way I want it to be yet. I'm not quite happy with it. So I'm gonna spend a little bit more time working on it. I have been really busy because I got a new job, so I've been working a lot as well as trying to do everything else I was already doing. And like, I'm realizing that there's only so many hours in the day. Today I thought I'm just gonna talk about some of my favorite books for fun. This is not all of my favorite books, it's just some of the ones I thought of and I wanted to talk about. I'll probably think of some more when I'm editing this. These are just the ones I'm gonna talk about today. So let's get into it. First, I want to talk about one of my favorite series, The Six of Crows Geology by Leigh Bardugo. I clearly don't care about that much, I just dropped it. I read them for the first time last year and I was obsessed, immediately obsessed. First time I've really gotten into like a fantasy book in a while because I was kind of like off fantasy for a little bit. Well, was I? I don't know. These were the first of the Grisha verse books I read. I didn't even know that there was a trilogy beforehand. I did notice that she didn't really explain the world very much, but I really liked it. I thought it was a choice. I like not really knowing what's going on and like not really being told this world and having to like figure it out as we go along. But it did make more sense once I found out that there was actually another series that was beforehand. I think you can just read them by themselves. That's what I always tell people. Just read the duology because it's better, because I did read the Grisha trilogy and it's not great. Anyway, I loved these books and I really loved the series too. My next favorites is one I read at the beginning of this year, which was Solitaire by Alice Oseman. I read all of Alice Oseman's books at the beginning of this year and Solitaire was the only one my library didn't have, so it's the one I bought and it's actually the only book I bought this year because I just read books from the library because I do not have the money to buy that many books. It was good. Yeah, loved it. I mean, yeah, it's one of my favorite books. It was good. What am I saying? I really liked all of Alice Oseman's books. I read Radio Silence first, I think. I got it from Kat from Paperback Dream. She talks about Alice Oseman a lot. Finally, this year, I got around to reading Alice Oseman and it was a really good time. I really enjoyed all her books. You can just like read them very quickly. I was reading them in like a day. I think I read this in a day. The language is very accessible. It's very realistic to how teenagers talk. I also like her emphasis on non-romantic relationships. Even in the books where there is romance, like Solitaire, she doesn't disregard like platonic relationships, friendships, sibling relationships, which I really enjoyed reading about. And I would recommend Alice Oseman. That's all I have to say about that. One of my other favorite books that I read this year was Lanny, which I talked about in the mid-year book freakout tag. I've talked about it a few times. It was really good. The style of writing is something that I really like to read, but I have a hard time finding books that are written in that style. That's just like the type of style that I really like to read, and also it's very similar to the type of stuff I like to write. I like to kind of write in between narrative writing and poetry, but also it was just so good. The way he switched between all the characters so much, but you could still tell who was speaking was so good, and the way that the whole town had a voice in it, so good. I could talk about it for ages. I have. We need to move on. Another one of my favorite books I read this year, which is The Vanishing Half by Bennett, which was, again, so good. I talked about this in the mid-year book freakout tag video too. Amazing. The writing, so good. I definitely want to read some more about Bennett. I think she has another book called The Monsters that I'm adding onto my to-be read list, which is so long. I really liked the way it made me think about the world, introduced me to some new topics that I hadn't really thought about before, because obviously I am white and so I don't really experience those things, so getting to see it through someone else's eyes. I think that's one of the reasons that books and art are so important. It gives you a perspective that you're not going to get in your real life because, you know, you don't experience that. And so those are really good learning tools. Anyway, it was really good. I'm not giving summaries of the books. I really don't like doing that. It's really hard. Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I first read this in like 2015 maybe, and I loved it so much. I had been reading a lot of fantasy books at that time, and they just like all felt the same, and they were very predictable. I was getting very tired of books that were predictable, and this one came and I had no idea what the hell was going on. I did not guess anything that happened, and I really loved the world she created. I thought it was so interesting. The way it all tied together was so good. It is about Carew, who leads a double life. So she leads two lives, one as a 17-year-old art student and the other as an errand girl to a monstrous creature who is the closest thing she has to family. So she's been raised in two worlds, half in our world, half in the world that she calls elsewhere, and throughout the book she kind of discovers this secret to her life. I liked the writing style, I loved everything about this book, and I reread it at the end of 2019, and I was reminded of why I loved these books so much. So the first one is my favorite. The second two are still good, and I do really like them, but this was my favorite one. I think because there's less emphasis on the romance aspect. It's really good. Read it. Another of my favorite books is Strange the Dreamer, again by Laini Taylor. This one, again, the world building. What she does really good is world building, and the way you would just never think of these worlds that she creates. This one is about Laszlo Strange, and since he was 5 years old, he's been obsessed with the mythical lost city of Weep, and he gets the opportunity to go look for this missing city and follow his dreams. I do like the sequel as well, but this one I like more. This book, it can, I think, do as a standalone. I think the sequel is really good to like really expand the universe and tie up all the loose strings and stuff. But this one, again, just by itself is really good. Highly recommend both of them. This is kind of one of my favorite series just for like nostalgia. The Infernal Device series by Cassandra Clare. I read The Mortal Instruments when I was younger, and so it's got that feeling of nostalgia attached to it for me. And so I've read all of the series associated with it. This series is the one I like and I'm very attached to. I think the setting is what really makes this series the best out of all the ones she's written. A historical setting really gives her boundaries in her writing, which makes it a lot stronger. It's the same thing when she writes with someone else. I find the writing is a lot stronger, the story is a lot more compelling. So this series follows Tessa Gray, who arrives in England from America, and she discovers the shadow world and seeks refuge with the shadow hunters for the chaos that will unfold. The friendship between Will and Jem, I think, is so strong, and what really carries the series for me is the relationship and connection between those three, Will, Jem, and Tessa. So this one is I'm very attached to. I don't know why, so I do like this series. Finally, as I have talked about before, one of my favorite books / series of all time is the Percy Jackson universe. In particular, of course, the Percy Jackson series, because childhood nostalgia. I've talked about it before. What can I say? I'm very excited for the Disney Plus series, even though I'm definitely going to be way too old when it comes out. Like, I'm already too old. But, like, I don't care. I'll still watch it and appreciate it, and it'll be a good time. Just wanted to mention a couple of my other favorite books, like Song of Achilles and Circe, I really liked. I really loved the Raven Boys series. Good Omens, I really like. Dear Evan Hansen, I really liked. I can't remember all the books I've read in my life, but these are a few of my favorite books. Definitely way more that I don't remember or can't think of right now. I also do want to mention my favorite classic. My favorite classics are Emma by Jane Austen. I really like the fact that Emma's just an unlikable character, and there's just so many miscommunications that happen. And also Wuthering Heights, I think, just because I was very engaged the whole time, and I actually read it a lot quicker than I usually read classics. And the fact that like every single character truly sucks in that is just very interesting to read. I'm gonna finish it there, but I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble, and I hope maybe you wanna pick up some of them and give them a read. That's it for today and this week. I was trying to post every week. I think that's like dead now. It lasted a little bit, but I'm getting more busy again, and I just don't have the time, especially because I want to like make them good. I know I talk about how, oh, no one really cares, no one watches them, and like that's true, but like I still want them to be good because I'm learning more about editing and stuff. I want to make them the best I can so I can continue to improve, because that's one of the main reasons I'm doing this, is so I can learn more about filming and editing. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do like a every 2 weeks thing. I'll just see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye!